Hello everyone and welcome to this very special fireside discussion on how channel partners can unlock the full potential of Microsoft Teams for small and mid-sized businesses, as brought to you from our friends at Intermedia. I'm Kieran Devlin, Associate Editor of UC Today, and joining me are two fantastic guests, Mark Sher, VP of Product Marketing at Intermedia, and Kevin Kieller, Lead Analyst and Co-founder of EnableUC. Between them, we'll explore why SMBs need more from their Teams deployments, how Intermedia's embedded approach is solving real-world challenges, and how Intermedia's flexible partner strategy empowers its partners to stand out and succeed in the market. Mark, Kevin, great to have you both here, but before we dive into the meat of the discussion, let's do a quick round of intros. Mark, let's begin with yourself.
Yeah, thanks, and happy to be here. So my name is Mark Sher, and I run product marketing here at Intermedia. And I've basically made it my life's work to help businesses communicate better with the people in the business and the people outside the business. I've been doing it for, over 30 years now.
And Kevin, what about yourself?
Yeah, well, Kieran and Mark, I'm super happy to be here. I think this is going to be a great discussion. So I'm part consultant, and in that mode, I work with organizations to help them make good technology investments and then get the best return from the investments that they made in technology. And then I'm also part analyst, working with vendors to help them understand a lot of the times the Microsoft ecosystem, where I have deep expertise, not exclusively that, but so I'm both technical and comfortable kind of in that technical mode, but also happy to have conversations with the C-suite. And I spend a lot of my time trying to bridge that gap so that we can all get the most out of technology. Because like you, Mark, I love technology, but I love when it's delivering, important and pragmatic results for organizations.
Well, I can't think of two more perfect speakers for today's conversation. And let's start by setting the scene. Kevin, from your research and conversations in the field, what would you say are some of the biggest communications and collaboration challenges facing SMBs today, especially those that rely on Microsoft Teams?
Yeah, so obviously I think no one's going to question that the world is seeming to, but it is actually moving faster and faster. And for SMBs, I think it's important to realize that for most SMBs that have less than, let's say, around 50 people, they don't have a dedicated IT resource. A lot of time it's the business owner or another senior person that is responsible for trying to sort out all the IT and technology things. And, Microsoft does many things amazingly well, but I would say simplicity may not be one of the things that they do. So a complete Microsoft solution for an SMB, like if you get all the bells and whistles from Microsoft, it can be amazingly complicated. And so I think SMBs are looking for simplicity. They want to focus on, running their business, delivering value to their customers, and they don't want to get kind of bogged down by technology. So Microsoft can be a little bit complicated if you take all the pieces. And then the second thing is really around cost, or I really would say it's value for money. So because a lot of times, in a small to medium organization, this is money directly coming out of, the owner's pocket, as it were. He or she wants to make sure that they're getting real value for the additional investment in technology features.
Wonderful, and I think that segues us very nicely to Intermedia's approach. Kevin, based on those challenges, what kind of solutions or enhancements do you think really moves the needle for SMBs using Teams? And then Mark, afterwards, I'd love to hear how Intermedia's embedded strategy lines up with those exact needs.
Yeah, so I think, the key thing is a lot of people are using Microsoft Office Suite, and so they're using Teams because it's been unbundled. That's part of the challenge with Microsoft, is just the licensing is relatively complex. But so people are using Teams, and then a natural extension is, okay, we need some kind of phone system. So they look at Teams Phone, and Teams Phone is super robust, but it's also, back to comment on Microsoft, it's complicated. You can do, there's licensing, there's multiple ways to connect to the PSTN. So I think organizations, SMB organizations, they want to add phone capabilities to Teams, but the Microsoft route can sometimes be overwhelmingly complex.
Yeah, we agree. Absolutely, especially when you're thinking about that small to mid-sized business, right? They have special needs, and we wholeheartedly believe there's no one better to help meet those needs than a partner, right? As Kevin mentioned, down market, you're not going to likely have full-time IT, and those channel partners play such an important role, either as a trusted technology advisor or fully managed outsource IT. And when we think about this market and delivering service, we really want to think about it holistically, right? First, you have to have something that the customers need. And if we break down it just to the most core and condensed idea of what businesses need, it's quite simple, actually. Businesses need to ensure that the people in the business can collaborate with each other to meet the goals of the business, solve the business problems, right? And Microsoft Teams does a great job at that. But there's more than that, right? You also need to be able to connect with people outside the business, whether it's partners or vendors or specifically customers, right? And that's more on the communications side. There's collaboration and communications, right? We want them all to come together in one place. And that's why we built our embedded team solution to tuck in our enterprise grade, but built for SMB communication stack inside of the Teams environment. And so we take great communication services, voice, SMS, full, contact center if you need it, full customer experience if you need it, put it inside Teams in a really elegant way that doesn't require deep integration, doesn't require a third-party middleware, doesn't even require direct routing. So I started saying it's got to be holistic. So first you got to have a good solution, right? Then you need a channel to deliver that solution, right? That's this super important partner channel that we're highly dedicated to. But then there's one more element, and the final element is it has to be interesting for them economically and from a value creation perspective. So you got to get all three of those things right, and that's what we really work hard to do.
And I think this is a really good opportunity for Mark to dig deeper into how Intermedia, specifically the embedded team solution you guys have, how it's directly addressing the kind of pain points and challenges Kevin mentioned earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll talk about it in two ways, both customer challenges and then the partner side of the equation, because again, they have to work symbiotically. They have to go together. If you've got one right, but you don't have the other one right, it just doesn't work. So from a customer perspective, so a couple of things to mention. First, there's a business continuity element, right? Putting all of your both communications and collaboration eggs in one basket can be risky. So for example, if you're using Teams Phone and Teams goes down, which these things happen, right? You're out, right? Not only is your collaboration out, but your communications with the outside world is out too. When you're using our embedded solution, if Team goes down, this happens, it's not great, but just go ahead and log in through a web browser and you're back up and running with the exact same user interface that you're using inside Teams, but through a web browser, communicating with folks, both you can internal and external, right? So I think business continuity is very important. Security is very, very important. That's why IT folks like putting other applications inside of Teams, especially with a nice, simple, single sign-on. Less applications on the desktop mean less passwords, less passwords means less penetration points into the business. So you've got business continuity, security, and then I think Kevin mentioned this also, kind of just ease of use built for SMB, right? Not enterprise grade, but built for SMB, not enterprise for enterprise, because there are differences, with the level of complexity that an enterprise needs relative to the features that a small to mid-sized enterprise needs. So we're really hyper focused on that, small and mid-size target. So we tune and curate our solutions directly for that market. So we want to make sure that we've got a great fit for the needs of that market, which ironically is the market, of course, that our partners serve, right? So it all works well together.
And Kevin, let's expand out a little bit. I'm really curious to canvass your brain from a broader market perspective. How would you say the Intermedia's team's approach that Mark so elegantly outlined there, how does that compare to what else is out there? What makes it stand out in such a crowded field?
Yeah, so I don't want to say that this is like some comprehensive competitive analysis, but what I absolutely, admire about Intermedia's approach is, as, Mark outlined, that they're laser focused on the market that they serve. So I'm always suspicious when a vendor says, we serve everybody, right? I always think that's a recipe for disaster. I think Intermedia does a great job of saying, look, we're going to serve the small and medium sized organizations. And I think we're going to explore this in more detail. Mark, started talking about this, but from a partner perspective, I think that they do some unique things that ultimately help partners do, what they need to do, which is make money. So whether you want to be like an agent type partner, or you want to be a reseller and, kind of do the billing for the customers and add some additional value add services. I certainly know from my discussions with Intermedia that they're very flexible and they serve both their customers and their partners very well. And they've identified, kind of who those ideal customers are. And the last thing about Microsoft is, and not to slag on Microsoft once again, but support is challenging. Like if you're a small organization, it is difficult to get through to somebody at Microsoft when you have a problem. And so it's not difficult if you have hundreds of thousands of users in your enterprise customer. They have specific account managers, et cetera. But, if you're a small or medium-sized organization, I think doing business with a company that may, that isn't small, but certainly isn't the size of Microsoft. I think that also gives you a more direct path to support, both through the partner and then, in this case, directly to the vendor Intermedia. So I think that also serves the SMB market quite well.
And both you guys foreshadowed it, but it is now time to talk about partners. Mark, what kind of support does Intermedia provide that helps partners deliver this embedded teams approach to their customers so successfully?
Yeah, thanks for asking. I really do think it's a super important conversation. So Intermedia very uniquely goes to market with multiple different ways that partners can engage with us. So I'll start with the more typical one, which is an agent situation where a partner is out talking to potential customers, has relationships, leverages those relationships, sells solutions, and then there's a financial aspect for them that it's it's lucrative and they do great, but the partner then kind of steps aside. And then Intermedia has a relationship with that customer. Intermedia bills the customer. If the customer has an issue or problem, they contact Intermedia directly. We do our best job to take great care of them. As a matter of fact, 8 years running now, JD Power has awarded us with a excellence in technical support. So we take it very seriously, whether we're supporting a direct customer or supporting our partner who is supporting a customer. So speaking of which, we have another model, which is our most popular model, which allows the partner to have an ownership role in the customer journey. It's a true resell solution. So the partner buys wholesale from us. They mark it up to whatever the market bears, and they sell the solution to their customer. And then they take care of the first line technical support. They do the billing. And in this situation, the partner actually makes significantly more money, revenue money, but also creates a tremendous amount of business value, because both are important, right? You need the revenue to come in to pay the staff, to keep the lights on, to do the things you want to do. But creating true business value is creating legacy. And that's for some partners, it's very important, right? And so with our reseller model, not only do they make more money, but they create more business value, 10, 20x business value when you own the customer relationship. And so we love partners for exactly the reason that Kevin said. They're local, they're in your market, they're likely handling other of your IT needs. So it just makes sense for them to bundle Intermedia solutions with whatever else they're offering their customers, get it under one bill, and then if there's an issue, the customer can just call their local partner. And we think that's such a powerful combination. We just don't think there's a better combination than that, right? A scale solution that's handled locally by your trusted partner. You add those things together, we really think it's a winning combination. Winning for us, winning for the customer, and winning for the partner who's driving good revenue and creating true business value, because that customer is not our customer. It's not our customer. We don't have a relationship with that customer. We have a relationship with the partner, and the partner has a relationship with the customer. We think that's a great way to go to market.
And Kevin, Mark there has painted a very vivid portrait of that partner program. But I'm just quite curious to get your perspective as an analyst about what should partners be thinking about when evaluating Teams programs in general, and how would you say Intermedia's model aligns with those expectations or even exceeds them?
Yeah, I mean, I think Mark did a good job of spelling it out. I mean, like ultimately, as I think both he and I said, a partner, they're in business. They need to, be able to generate the revenue and the margin, right? And I think we're seeing, Microsoft is the, gorilla in the room. And so they are working to, let's say, squeeze margins with, enterprise agreement renewals or other kind of programs that they have. And so certainly from my understanding, because Mark and I kind of talked ahead of this, the margins that you can expect through the Intermedia, program, especially in that reseller mode, are significantly better. So I think that, so first and foremost, the partner needs to make money. And then Mark talked about it, but to be more specific, it's like in that reseller mode, if you then as the owner of the business in the future, I think Mark said creating a legacy, but that specifically means if you're going to sell your business at some point because you'd like to retire, in that reseller mode, you're going to get significantly more, value, a much higher multiplier in that mode as compared to, let's say, an agency mode where you don't control the customer. And then Mark, maybe you can expand on this more, but my understanding is, Intermedia also supports a co-branded and white labeled solution. So if I want to offer Intermedia's product suite, inside of Teams, but I want to brand it, with my business, that's an option. And last, what I think partners are looking for is really you want to get from a prospective customer to actually cash in your bank account as quickly as possible. And one of the things that partners need to consider is how easy is it to deploy the solution. So you can sell it, but you're not going to be making the money until it's actually deployed to the customer. And, my understanding is Intermedia has really focused on making it easy for partners to deploy, which means it's easier or quicker for partners to get them, money being deposited into their bank account. So I think those are all things that partners should look for, and I think certainly Intermedia has talked about addressing all of those. But maybe Mark, you can expand upon some of those points.
Yeah, I always say you can't put margin percentage in the bank. Dollars go in the bank, right? And you want them to stay there as long as possible. And so that is our job here at Intermedia, to ensure that the margin dollars that you make, which you earn and deserve, stay with you and don't get kind of sucked back out with extra costs or unnecessary costs, right? So we really think of it very holistically for our partner community. We look at every item on this kind of 360-degree continuum that a partner would need to be enabled to go and sell and support and bill solutions. I'll give you some examples. So first, a partner needs to get educated, right? They need to educate themselves, educate their staff on our solution. We have a university that they can online, that they can attend in the evenings, whenever they want. Take courses, and these aren't just generic courses. These are courses for salespeople, support people, operations people, billing. So we're very granular and finite with who we're training and what we're teaching them, right? We give them great tools for online quoting and online provisioning with wizards that help them through that. We teach them how to onboard effectively and efficiently, teach them to fish until they can kind of fish themselves with the onboarding. Billing, right? Billing can be a holy nightmare, especially telco taxes, right? Who wants to deal with that? I'll tell you what, nobody wants to deal with that. That's okay. We got you covered. If you're a reseller, we're going to do your telco taxes for you. Because when you provision the account, we know what you sold, who you sold it to, where they are, how much you charge for it. Doesn't matter if it's multi-location. We'll do your telco taxes and then send them to you, and you remit them back to us, and we'll take care of it with the tax man, right? And then we're going to take great care of you. So if you can't answer a customer's question, then you call us on the hotline and we get you taken care of, right? So it's all about efficiency. It's all about productivity. And that's what keeps the margin dollars in the bank, where they belong. And then to also kind of respond to one of Kevin's points about multiple versions of our go-to-market strategies with partners, we work with partners of all sizes, small mom and pop, large MSPs, and we have a large and growing number of service providers, like local telcos, cable providers in many markets around the country and around the world. And depending on their needs around branding and go to market, we have lots of flexibility there for the right partner to get to market the right way with the right brand. So again, partner isn't something we just kind of woke up and decided to do a couple of years ago. It's been baked into our DNA for I would say a solid 20 years.
Terrific. And I think that flexibility is a really important piece of the puzzle, as it were. And it's tied in turn to what you're saying, Mark and Kevin, about just the business value, tangible, actual, practical value that's being delivered with you guys and the channel partners, and then to the customers, which is all the reciprocal cycle as well. We're just about at time, so shall we end with some parting thoughts? Kevin, for partners considering how to level up their team strategy, what's your final piece of advice?
Yeah, what I'd say is, you should take a look at Intermedia. I mean, Mark said it, like, what impresses me is, I'm going to say, my belief is it's like your Intermedia is like 95% of the revenue, goes through the channel. So this isn't just like hey, we woke up and decided we want to be a partner-led business. They've always been, I think Mark said 20 years. So a good long time. I like the flexibility. I like an organization like Intermedia who is focused. So they've thought through, as Mark talked about, right, from the education, the quotation, the delivery, making sure you're not then spending your money on support because they got you covered there. So I think it's definitely, if you're a partner in the Microsoft ecosystem servicing customers, take a look at Intermedia, because it could be a very good way to expand your business, expand your stickiness and the value that you're delivering into your existing customer base.
And Mark, if a partner is watching and is ready to learn more or get started, what is the best next step?
Yeah, come on over to intermedia.com. There's a big old button on the upper right. This is partners. And then because we deal with so many different kind of partners, you can even kind of select what kind of partner you are, and then you'll be able to get in touch with us. And I would also say, traditionally, the partners who have sold voice solutions have come from the voice world, right? Whether they came out of PBX or VARs, right? And I just want to say that you don't have to come from the voice world to sell these type of solutions anymore. So if you're a partner and you specialize in Microsoft solutions and you sell out to teams, we invite you to come talk to us and learn how easy it can be to sell a great communication solution inside of Teams. It's great revenue opportunity, makes your overall solution much stickier, given the kind of flexibility, the kind of annual flexibility in tenant movement. So it just allows partners to create a much more comprehensive solution for their customers that we've said value lots and lots of times, but it is about creating value.
Fantastic. Well, it's a very inspiring note on which to end today's fireside discussion. Huge thanks to both Mark and Kevin for this insightful discussion. And for those watching, I hope we've helped shine a light on how you can get more from your Microsoft Teams, deliver more value to your customers, and stand out in a crowded market. If you are interested in Intermedia's embedded team solution or exploring the partner program, please check out the links in the description below. I've been Kieran Devlin of UC Today. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.